Hello everybody, Kane here and welcome to another video of Art of Conquest. In this one we're gonna start going through every single feature one video at a time. About 8 or so days ago I think, or last Monday, something happened and literally the resistances on the front line and probably heroes and other stuff broke once more. And I cannot really say they doubled, but literally everything on the field became quite a bit more tankier. So we might as well just redo some videos, provide better information, probably a new take, a new opinion for people to change stuff and of course raise them. So we're gonna start with cosmic badges since we're starting to get a decent amount of them. So the way I go about this feature, I literally had everything legendary, I think a couple of days or so back, and then I started swapping some stuff. My archers are also full legendary, so why did I swap to purples? Basically, this feature also can grant you resistances, and resistances I have a total of 7.8 physical and 7.8 magical. So that's a total of like 16%. So we also have to talk about resistances and also stats and percentage values. I did cover that in previous videos, but we might as well do it just now. It is more efficient to get these ones like I'm not sure, epsilon or whatever. I'm not sure how you call these pieces. It kind of got lost in my head. So this sort of epsilon grants 14% max HP and attack bonus. While this one in particular, the gamma energy grants 20% and 20%, which is like 20% HP, 20% attack, but it also has another stat which you don't really want on a frontline, which is an offensive stat. While this one can also cover both of these as like two pieces, and it will grant you 14% HP and attack. So a total would be 28 HP and 28 attack versus 20 and 20. Not only that, you get two stats, which means you're gonna get 4 stats in total of having 2 of these instead of 2 of this, and 4 of those stats can actually be defensive or even resistances if you're incredibly lucky. So that can even be more crazy. So going for these is always or will always be better than going for some of these. Of course, these 2 corners cannot be avoided. So these ones you're always gonna have to select something like this. Really, there is no avoiding in terms of this. So I've done my calculations, and if we count that all of these pieces would be perfect with resistances, the total amount of resistances that we would be able to get across like these epsilons, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be about 38% resistances, meaning physical and magical together. Not like 38 and 38, but I mean combined together. Like for example, 7.8 here and 7.8 here would make a total of 16 or so. And of course, we would have this one, which will always be, say, tankiness. So that's another 3.2. So I think the total amount that we can get in terms of total resistances is 41-ish percent or 40%. So me personally, having 7.8 and 7.8 is not too far off the, I suppose, the half mark of making this feature perfect for frontline. So there is still a ton of work to do in terms of upgrading this for your frontline tankiness. And personally, going for resistances on a new feature, which is not heavily capped or even capped at all, is actually incredibly important. Simply because many other features will give a ton of caps or soft or hard caps. So even some 20% bonuses can turn to like 2, 3, 4, or even 5% resistances. I mean, sure, you might be looking at 20% being high from Covenant, but that additional 20% in Covenant can actually be like 3, 4, or 5% uncapped, or hard capped to that percentage, if put in other words. So going for resistances in literally every single feature is the way to go, and pretty much will make your frontline incredibly tanky. You don't need to focus as much on others like crit evasion or whatever, simply because if you don't take that damage at all, you don't really need to dodge that crit, or if that crit is reduced to nothingness, you don't really need to evade that crit or so, right? So those resistances are actually the top tier, I suppose, meta or gameplay at the very moment of making the video. So this particular one, I would say, don't really focus on stats in terms of frontline, but just go straight towards resistances and you're pretty much gonna benefit in PvP. In terms of archers, it's probably a whole different point of view in terms of how you should raise it. So, since archers are also a must-have for events, you kinda require legendary pieces regardless, whether or not you're using them in PvP, or you have not so good substats like this one or whatever. I mean, you can just try for a better one. But even then, they still provide a ton of bonus attack value, and that attack value usually tends to scale your score in events. Of course, substats also count, but then again, like if you lower this value by like 5, 6, 7 million, that additional 4% attack speed will turn to 0.04 attack speed increase, which is almost nothing. So likely you would value a few million more attack than that very, very low substat or so, at least for archers. I'm not entirely certain which one would be better in terms of PvP, but I mean, the 99% resistances are actually pretty harsh and very, very hard to break through with some archer units. So it can go both ways. I mean, some units might prefer more attack value, so this would be better. Some units might prefer more attack speed and crit damage in terms of pieces like this. So this one I would deem a pretty perfect epsilon, and if you happen to get this, you probably just won a lottery or some stuff. Or I'm so incredibly unlucky, I'm not getting these perfect pieces at all, because usually it's just one DPS and one tank or so. But aside from that, in this one, you can just focus attack speed, or you can focus crit damage. I don't think there is any other DPS stat or so, just attack speed and crit damage. I mean, I'm not sure how much each one of them actually brings to the fight, or how overpowered each one of them are. So I just go a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and whatever the RNG actually gives me. If I'm gonna get more of those substats, I'm just gonna add more of those substats. Aside from that, if you get like the epsilons, same thing, you probably should add 6 of them in terms of this feature, since you get more HP, get more attack, and of course that will translate into more stuff in terms of PvP. So aside from that, you can also do another thing. So depending what formation you have, what race you have, like what you're playing. For me, in terms of PvP, I am playing as Lich, so I don't really use ranged units at the moment. In the future, I'm not sure, but in the future, I might actually test out spiders. I'm not sure when I'll be able, or whether I will maybe transfer as someday my archer research to spider for dual tower and test some stuff, and then swap back for events. But I will want to try out the spiders. So prior to that happening, or for events, or for current PvP, you can actually reset this resonance if you're not using a second unit on the field, which means you reset this, you get 78 or so thousand of these sapphires, right? These ones. And if you have enough, you can actually upgrade further for your frontline. So again, I have only one unit on my field in terms of PvP. So the level in terms of this cosmic on my archers doesn't mean much in PvP, and in terms of core power, I have overraised by probably 1 million core. So because I'm not using archers, I have 1 million more core in terms of all of these values that I currently have, and it's not really benefiting me. So I can, again, reset this, upgrade my frontline in terms of this breakthrough, well, not right now, but almost, and then benefit from my frontline being incredibly more tankier, take less damage, and of course, plus 15% less damage from heroes. So that is gonna be pretty overpowered. But then people would ask, well, if you reset the archers, then how about for events? And that's the same thing. You would just then reset this once more. I think it will cost like 100, 200 Linari. And usually every second week, you're gonna have events in here which would require archers or attack speed, or I think every week right now, pretty much. So essentially, on the weekend, you can swap to maybe your frontline being tankier if you don't use archers. For PvP, do the PvP, then reset your cosmic, and then split them up evenly, or just go for full archers, and then maybe have some losses in terms of, like, I don't know, a PvP or one hero, and then you can, at the very end of Dual Tower season, just climb back. But that's pretty much, I suppose, some tips of how to go about this event. Personally, I will likely during weekends reset this in terms of resonance, upgrade skeletons for PvP, or at the very end of Dual Tower, raise by some points, and then of course make them even for the next week's event. So pretty much, I think this is like the entire cover for this particular feature. Do keep in mind, again, if you have good or decent golden pieces and you think you're gonna use a second or a third unit eventually, do not disassemble those equipments, even if you require a particular amount of experience to level stuff. A good piece is very, very hard to come by. We never know if they're gonna release enough features for us to be able to use more units or so. So just saving that piece eventually can actually help you out. So if you have a piece which, say, is magic damage take, or rather reduced damage taken and crit evasion, this is above average, and essentially you really want to save a piece like this. So keep in mind, do not really disassemble these pieces, or eventually in the future you might actually cry that you did, or so, or die inside that you did, in other words. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much covered this whole feature in one go. Do let me know in the comments down below if you did learn something new and whether or not this video helped you out. Thanks for watching, and if you would wish to support me more than just watching my videos, I have made a Patreon page where you would be able to do just that. In return, I would be able to help you out more individually in terms of events, PvP formations, and stuff like that. As well as I would like to thank all of my patrons for the support. I really, really appreciate it for your subscriptions. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe out there.